Welcome to the Thyroid Fixer podcast, where I'm all about helping you lose that stubborn weight that won't come off no matter what you do. Get off your couch at 2 p.m. and get through your day with energy and stop counting the hairs that come out of your head. I'm your host, Dr. Amy, and I'm here to help you get optimized with your thyroid and your hormones. It's all part of living our mantra: better thyroid, better hormones equals a better life. So let's get you back to being the badass human that you're meant to be. Let's approach it from a thyroid and hormone optimization standpoint. Between myself and my guests, you will be loaded down with information to take control of your health and get back to being you. So let's get started. Talking again about the importance of getting in your protein, but it's hard to do. I get it. So I bring you a solution: Paleo Valley beef sticks. Now, when we're talking about beef sticks or jerky, there's so much out there on the market, and a lot of them will claim that their beef is grass-fed just as long as it was fed grass at some point in its life. But really, the cows are fed grains, and they're just sprinkled in some grass-fed, marketed that way. And they can say that it's American-made as long as it's packaged in America. You don't want that. Paleo Valley grass-fed beef sticks are the real deal. They are sourced from 100% grass-fed and grass-finished cows, never fed grains or harmful antibiotics, and they come from small family-owned farms right here in the USA. And they're good. So you want to grab some of these, add them in throughout the day, a fantastic snack on the go. Go to paleovalley.com/thyroid, and that's going to save you 15% off. So PALEOVALLEY.com/thyroid, THYROID, and save 15%. Are you finally at your wit's end where you are tired of dealing with doctor after doctor? Maybe you've spent thousands on integrative or functional practitioners that have not helped you at all because they don't know the thyroid and hormones. They're not even testing properly. So come work with myself and my team. We prescribe to all 50 states and parts of Canada. I have you covered. I've been building this team for years so that I could help you no matter where you are. All you have to do is click the link in the show notes, book a free application call. We're going to go over your current health situation, what worked, what hasn't worked, all the things. And then we will pair you up with the right program for you where we will do it all. You will come out the other side of the program totally optimized, getting your life back. You're going to recognize the person you see in the mirror again. Doesn't that sound absolutely amazing? Well, it might sound like you don't even believe it, but I promise you, we will take good care of you. So click the link in the show notes, book a call today, and we'll be talking to you soon. Shivani, I am so happy to have you on today because we have not yet dove into Ayurveda, detoxing, turmeric. We haven't really even deep dove into inflammation. We have and we haven't. So today, you and I are going to go deep on all of these topics. And I think it's just going to be fascinating for the listeners. And also, we're going to tie all this into the body, weight, balancing hormones, the thyroid. So it's going to be a really fun show today. You have helped so many people nationwide, worldwide. So I'm excited to have you be a part of the Thyroid Fixer podcast. So thanks for jumping on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So what is your story? I mean, you and I met just a couple of months ago. I heard, the brief version of your story when you gave a talk at CHS, but I want to go deeper. What is your story that led you really to this place of helping others, looking at inflammation, how it affects the body and what all the symptoms are surrounding that, developing a line that now has turmeric as kind of the forefront of your entire line that also helps reduce inflammation. We're going to talk about that, but how did you get here?
Sure. So I grew up in Houston, Texas, to an immigrant family. And when my parents moved to the US, their whole dream was to build the American dream. And they did. They worked their tails off and in 20 years built massive success. But while they did that, we would go to India every year to see my grandparents, my cousins, and the family. And all I ever saw was every time I landed, someone was having a catastrophic health issue. It was a heart attack, stroke, Parkinson's, and they couldn't function or walk, a leg amputation. Like, it was so traumatizing. And I kept looking at this and saying, what's wrong with my family? And is that what's going to happen to me? Like, why is it that everyone's diabetic, including my mom, and no one's got a handle on their health? And my dad was a health nut. And so he, even in the 80s, was like green juice and not white bread and whole milk, not skim milk. So he was like a rebel and biohacker in the 80s. So I grew up in this world where it was like, okay, my family has horrible genes and horrible lifestyle. And if I don't learn how to prevent diabetes, that is the end game for me. And simultaneously, I grew up always chronically sick. We'd go to the pediatrician and they'd just prescribe you antibiotics because that's what they did back then.
Mhm.
I took antibiotics chronically through my childhood. And by the time I got to college, I felt like I had no immune system. Everyone else could party and have fun and pull all-nighters, and I would just fall flat on my face. And I thought, gosh, I'm going to have to go figure this out because otherwise, again, this is my whole life that I'm going to be the weak link. And so on a trip to India, I was disastrously sick again. They were like, should we hospitalize her? And this doctor, his name was a Dr. Gupta, actually, in New Delhi, India, was like, here's your prescription for antibiotics and medicine. And this voice rose up inside of me and was like, no, we're not doing this. And so I told my parents, I'm done. All of this has not worked. We're living in the land of yoga and Ayurveda in India. And I think that system might have something for me. So I went on a quest through India, South India, West India, East India, just all around studying at the feet of all the gurus of Ayurveda. And I realized this system is ancient and it has so much wisdom to it. It has so much truth to it. And I used it to detox myself, heal my own gut, build my own immune system. And I realized this is the preventive lifestyle we all need to apply if we want to prevent chronic inflammatory diseases.
Mhm.
And then I became a super fan. So that's why I teach Ayurveda now.
I love it. And don't you have, did I hear this correctly, or you can correct me? Don't you have a lot of conventional medicine practitioners in your family? Like, I'm pretty sure you're married to one, right?
Yeah, I'm married to a big mega family of surgeons and doctors here in South Florida. And so it's funny because every year I get more like entrenched in my beliefs around Eastern holistic integrative medicine, and they practice Western medicine. But it's good because it keeps me balanced because I'm always like, I don't rail against doctors. I know that Western medicine has so much to offer.
Mhm.
And if we want a preventive lifestyle, an integrative lifestyle, we have to go to all the other systems to get it. So it's good because I can reach into both toolkits.
Well, I love that because I say that all the time. I am not at all anti-Western medicine. We need it, but we just need to go a little bit deeper and find the root cause. And just like you said, not throw a Band-Aid medication on every single symptom that someone has. Really actually look at what is causing their issues. Now, we know that a lot of the issues, even the ones that you ran into in India, are caused by inflammation.
Correct.
So can we start there and just really go into signs that people can look for in their own bodies of inflammation? I mean, it sounds so really not cliche, but it sounds so obvious, right? When you're inflamed, well, of course, I'm going to be poofy, or my elbow is going to be red, or I'm going to have a headache. But what are those hidden signs of inflammation that people might not be aware of?
Well, a lot of times we complain about aging. I have a lot of women around me who are like, gosh, I'm aging. Everything hurts. I wake up and my joints are stiff. I've got muscle aches. My skin is weird. My skin is changing. I keep getting these rashes. My stomach hurts. I have stomach pains. My bowel movements are off. I get constipated. Everything's off. Sometimes I'm feeling like I'm getting sick, like fevers and chills, or I'm fatigued all the time. And I'm like, guys, this is not aging. This is inflammaging. This is inflammation making you feel like you're aged, but we're not aging. It's a choice. I know the years will go by, but I actually feel better and more vibrant and younger as I age. And I think that there's so much power to understanding what reducing inflammation can do for you because inflammation is just wreaking havoc. Inflammation, imagine it has the word flame in it. It's
Mm-hmm.
like this forest fire that's wreaking havoc throughout our bodies, causing damage. So the minute you shut down the forest fire, the body can go around and heal and repair itself, regenerate. And then all of a sudden you're energized, you feel better. You don't have the brain fog, you don't have the gut issues, you don't have the joint pain and stiffness. Everything just settles. And then you're coming from that place of balance and wholeness. Like the whole goal of Ayurveda is the system of medicine from India. It's over 5,000 years old. The goal of Ayurveda is to bring body, mind, and spirit into alignment. And we do that by talking about circadian rhythm, talking about your sleep, your gut health, talking about your mind body constitution, your template really in life and how to live according to it. And then we teach a lot about diet, hormone balancing, and then detox and Ayurvedic care is a big piece of what we teach because the rhythm that you build in your daily life, it's exactly what's going to dictate how much of a toxic burden you have, which is what's going to affect your gut. It's going to affect your inflammation, which is what's going to affect your hormones. It's all one big circle. So I love that Ayurveda kind of covers all of it so that we have a plan of action of how to live a new approach to life.
So this is interesting. So you can really blend Ayurveda with, just like you said, with Western medicine. So even if, let's take my audience, they have a thyroid problem, their hormones are imbalanced, they're over here in Western medicine, not getting what they need, right? I mean, they're being prescribed T4 only. They're being told that hormones will cause cancer. How do we blend Ayurveda with Western medicine appropriately? So let's say these women can actually work with somebody to get the right thyroid medication, to get the right hormones. And now where does Ayurveda come in?
You know, a lot of people come to me to do an Ayurveda consultation because they're so sick of all the answers they've been getting. A lot of times they go to the doctor, they get prescribed things, but their symptoms are still there.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the conversation I have is, look, Western medicine has its toolkit. I totally utilize it. It's wonderful. But sometimes it's not covering everything I need. So either you need to find a functional medicine practitioner or an integrative specialist who's going to use Western medicine, but has a bigger toolkit they're going to look at, maybe much bigger blood work, much bigger testing tools and things like that. Or whatever you're going to do there is fine. If you apply the Ayurvedic approach to your lifestyle, all of a sudden inflammation is going to come down, lymphatic system is supported, gut is going to heal. So you're going to address the entire root cause of the issue. And then when you go to the Western medicine doctor, they're going to say, wow, your numbers look phenomenal. I think we can reduce this medication. I think we can maybe come off it. And so that's what I do is I start with the tool sometimes, like I've taken thyroid medication, but then I do all the lifestyle and all of a sudden there's no need.
And then we see what happens over here. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Maybe
It's
a
really
reduction, maybe
synergistic.
elimination.
Yeah, I don't think that we have to fly blind and say, okay, well, I'm not using any of those tools. It's more like, okay, thank you for the tool. I need support. A lot of times I say, look, start with a turmeric supplement, significantly reduce inflammation. Now you feel better. Now you have more energy. Now you have less joint pain and fatigue. Now you can make the lifestyle shifts. And when you're done, when you don't have any symptoms, come off the supplement. But why not use tools when we have them available to us?
I completely agree. And this is where we need to get the word out so that people realize that there are these other tools. Because I think, and maybe you've run into this too, in just the Western culture that we're in, we say the term Ayurveda. Of course, I've heard about it because I'm in this world, in this space. But you might say that term to the average Joe, the average Sue, and they're like, wait, I don't do like woo medicine. That's all just woo stuff. Like you're sprinkling herbs on people and treating their chakras, but it's so much more. So my first question to you is what kind of resistance do you run into in this Western culture when you talk about Ayurvedic medicine?
You know, I think the biggest resistance is the name. No one can say it. All of the terminology we use, no one can say it. I've been told, like, oh, you're writing a book. Maybe don't use the word Ayurveda too much. And I'm like, it's everything I teach. Like, how do you want me to avoid the word? So I'm trying to take all of that terminology and really give it analogies and give you the understanding of what it means. Thankfully, a lot of concepts out of Ayurveda are becoming very famous and trendy right now. So people are talking about your circadian clock, circadian medicine, circadian rhythm. That is all from Ayurveda. People are talking about oil pulling. That's an Ayurvedic concept. Dry brushing. So a lot of things, tongue scraping, these are all from Ayurveda. So I think the resistance is that's weird or that's different or that's awkward. And I always tell people, look, you're the one with the health struggle. You're the one who's got the toxic burden, just like I do living in the West. So either we do the homework or we don't. And so a lot of people, when they try tongue scraping, for example, all of a sudden their constipation's gone. And they're like, that makes no sense. I scraped my tongue. I'm like, well, Ayurveda always said tongue scraping is the ultimate detoxer, and it's going to affect your gut health, and it's going to ignite the gut digestive fire. So we have a lot of cool tools like that. And what's also cool is it's inexpensive. A lot of our tools are like, use a dry brush, use a tongue scraper, take some turmeric. It's not that hard. And so I try to habit stack it and make it simple. And then there's less resistance.
Oh, I love that. Okay. So I'm totally going to blindside you now. Didn't even talk about this beforehand, but I'm going to just give you a scenario. I'll use myself. So let's say I come in with the following symptoms. I have low energy, brain fog, low mood. I'm tired all the time. I got headaches going on. I'm a little bit bloated and I can't lose weight. Well, I mean, that sounds pretty much like a thyroid problem to me, right? So
Yeah.
I'm going to come to you now with all of those symptoms. What are you going to do for me? What are we looking at?
I'm going to first say go to endocrinology with the caveat to find an endocrinologist who's open, or go to functional medicine and get the testing done, because you
Right.
want baseline data. I love
Okay.
data. So I'm always like, go get the blood work done, take a Dutch test or a hormone test with your doctor. And it's tough because in South Florida, a lot of times I go to all the appointments with my friends and I'm so shocked at how not open endocrinologists are. Like, I've taken my sister-in-law, and when she had a thyroid condition, which she was trying to manage so she could get pregnant, I was like, okay, so by the way, like, you just diagnosed her, you just gave her a medicine. Okay, so what can she do diet-wise that'll impact her thyroid condition? They were like, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I just lost my mind on the inside. I didn't say anything, but I was like, you guys. So to me, when someone comes in like that, okay, what is the gut issue? Or what is the low grade inflammation? Or what is it that's causing hormone disruption in your body that's causing the issue? Because typically that's where it's at. So as a client, I would look at you and say, all right, what is the issue? And what we would also do is take a dosha quiz. So I have a free dosha quiz on my website.
Okay.
And you would take this dosha quiz for right now in this moment of your life, and remembering back into your childhood, because we're all born with our own individual mind-body constitution. So for example, let's say you're a vata person, but you're experiencing like this huge vata imbalance in your dosha. All that means is your template is that of air and ether, and it's why you're all over the place, you're imbalanced. It might be aspects of your life that are making you more anxious, have disrupted sleep or disrupted gut. And so then the homework from Ayurveda is, let's bring her back into balance within her dosha first. So I would tell you 3 grounding meals a day. We would have a whole conversation around your sleep. Do you need a sleep tea or a sleep tool to help you sleep? I have a lot of sleep tools because I'm obsessed with sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So I go one by one, and we go from light to heavier with, let's try this, let's try this. Okay, we fix sleep. Now we're going to clear inflammation. Now we're going to clear lymphatic. Gut is going to do better. So really, I just move down through the 6 pillars of Ayurveda that I teach and show someone that, look, if we address gut and we address endocrine disruption, environmental burden that we all have, and we reduce that, we address diet and inflammation, and then maybe we are going to add some supplements or teas in there to get the job done, then all of a sudden, you're going to feel a lot better. And now, if you still need support, we should go get that support. You should take the medications you need. But it might be that all these shifts are now going to hold you. I've met a lot of people who can hold at the lowest dose of medication and never have to increase it. So why are we living in a society where everyone's just increasing their medication unendingly? I don't think that that's a sustainable plan.
Well, and I agree. I try to really preach the message on here to even my patients that are listening, let alone the audience that's listening, trying to improve their health. Yes, we do have the hormone replacement. We have the thyroid hormone replacement. We have the bioidentical hormone replacement. We have that tool, but we cannot forget about everything else. So I could give you a boatload of thyroid medication, a ton of hormones. But to your point, if you're inflamed, if you're stressed, if you're not sleeping properly, if you're eating piss poor meals that are wreaking havoc in your gut, what is that? Is that medication even going to work? No, you're going to be like, you know what? This isn't working. I feel the same way. Right. Because you haven't changed everything over here that is going in your body, on your body, and what your body is doing, walking through that 24 hours in a day.
Correct.
So I love that. I love that you talk about that. Now, you mentioned tongue scraping? That's so simple, right? That is a cheap / free thing that
Yes.
we can do, and that it helps our gut, which is fascinating. I've never heard that before. What are some other easy breezy tools like that, and how do they connect to the body that people could do?
Sure. So in Ayurveda, we teach something called Dinacharya, the daily self-care rituals. And it's 12 self-care rituals that you can do throughout your day. And if you think about the concept of circadian rhythm and circadian clock, the circadian rhythm is basically just saying we are part of nature. Nature dictates everything. We can think that we can defy nature, but that's simply not true. It's bad for our health. And so living according to the circadian clock, according to Ayurveda, is rise with the sun. When the sun is setting, wind down your day. When you have your melatonin release around 10 based on your dosha, go to sleep at 9, 10, or 11 based on what your constitution needs to be rejuvenated. And living in the ebb and flow of your day is important. We also teach eating lunch between 10 and 2 on the clock. That's the pitta time of day, the fire time of day is the best time because you have the most fire for your gut digestive fire to absorb your hard to digest foods. So there's a lot of different things about rhythm that we teach. And then within self-care, we teach tongue scraping, for example. Tongue scraping, we recommend take a copper tongue scraper and gently scrape the tongue 7 to 14 times every morning. Gently, don't gag yourself. But when you gently scrape the tongue, you're going to remove this white film that accumulates on the tongue. And we teach that on the tongue, all the organs of the body are reflected just like they are on the bottom of your feet in reflexology. So
Okay.
simply by scraping the tongue, you're removing this film. We call it ama, the toxin film on the tongue. You're improving your taste buds' effect of working. So you're going to taste your food and hopefully eat more reasonably or eat better. And then you're also going to ignite gut digestive fire. So you're going to start moving that gut in the morning, moving the system. And that's going to support your metabolism and health throughout the day and your ability to detox.
I'm checking in with you. How's your energy these days? How's your skin? How's your muscle strength? These are things that are very, very important to me. And I know just from research that after the age of 30, our mitochondria starts breaking down. And these are the powerhouses of the cell that provide us with muscle strength and better skin and abundant energy through the day. So I've added in something that I wanted to share with you, Timeline Nutrition's MitoPure. So when we look into research into healthy aging, it really focuses on that pivotal role that our mitochondria plays in our body. And without our mitochondria working at top notch, then health is just declining. And that's not what we want. Daily wear and tear on a mitochondria is inescapable, but we can do something about it now. Timeline Nutrition's MitoPure is the first supplement that has been clinically shown to replace and rebuild damaged mitochondria. And this results in a boost in cellular energy. And actually, research has shown that individuals experience an increase in muscle strength and endurance without even altering their diet and exercise routine. So, I mean, I can personally attest to feeling the difference. I am now going to ask you to feel the difference. So I invite you to go to timelinenutrition.com. They're giving my community 10% off of MitoPure if you use the code Dr. Amy. So you are going to go to timelinenutrition.com / Dr. Amy and use the code Dr. Amy, DRAMIE. So timelinenutrition.com / DRAMIE and use the code Dr. Amy at checkout.
Then we have a simple one called oil pulling. You take a tablespoon or 2 of oil, any food grade organic oil. You put it in the mouth for 5 to 20 minutes. And I know that sounds weird and gross. It took me a while to pick up that habit. We love sesame oil. We think it's the king of oils because it has vitamin E, it's antibacterial, it has a lot of beneficial properties. But you can take olive oil, coconut oil if you like the taste. You put that in your mouth. And what I love is this is a multitasking self-care habit. You can shower, you can make your morning coffee, you can get dressed, you can do a lot of things. I can't with my kids around, but on the weekends I can do it and wander around and get a bunch of chores done. And what that's going to do is it's going to collect all the bacteria and toxins that have accumulated in your mouth. And when you spit it out, You're helping your oral microbiome, which we know connects to heart health, connects to inflammation. And oral microbiome is the beginning of the gut microbiome. The whole chain starts here. And so, isn't it interesting that Ayurveda 5,000 years ago taught so much around our oral health first thing in the morning to support our gut health? And so, we have a lot of things like that, even dry brushing. Dry brushing is just taking a brush that has like vegetable bristles and moving your system towards the lymph. So Ayurveda already knew that there's this invisible, we called it a sheath. Now we call it fascia. We already knew that the entire body was interconnected, that a lymph system existed that needed to be moved. And so we teach to dry brush every evening to move the lymphatic system and help support detox. Because if we're not detoxing, that's where all health falls apart. And then finally, we teach something called abhyang massage. Abhyang just means self-massage. So in the evenings, if I have time, and lately I'm making more time for this kind of self-care, I'll lay down a towel, I'll do my dry brushing, I'll do my oil pulling at the same time to multitask. I'll start filling the bathtub with Epsom salts and water because I want to do one last relaxing, delicious thing before bed. And I'll do my abhyang massage. So I'll take a food grade oil and from my feet to my neck, just rub that oil into the body like I'm gifting it to myself. And this is going to create oleation of the joints, oleation of the skin. A lot of us are dehydrated, suffering with dry skin. This is beautifully anti-aging. And it's really nourishing the body because that really delicious organic oil is being gifted to you. So this is a great way to give yourself better, more settled, nourishing sleep. And every time I do this, I have like the best sleep. I feel like $1,000,000. It's just incredible. And Ayurveda taught us to do all of these every day. And here we are in the West, like way too busy to do self-care. So I love just bringing self-care back into women's lives as like you deserve to feel amazing all the time and you deserve to take care of yourself first. And the more I do it, the better my life is. So
that just sounds heavenly. And I'm so happy that you said that because that was my first thought is I don't have time. And I know that that's what every other woman listening to this is going to say.
Totally.
But
Totally.
just think about that. Everything that you just said, very, very simple to do.
Yep.
I'm going to ask you about the copper for the tongue scraping in a second. Very, very simple to do. And as you're describing, like putting the oil on after an Epsom salt bath where you're getting the magnesium into your body too, and your body loves that. And I mean, it just sounds heavenly. Why don't we do it? But we'll pay $100 to go get a deep tissue massage, but we won't spend 5 minutes just putting oil on our own body. Oh my gosh, what's wrong with us? We need a shift. We need a shift.
You know, the way I speak to myself about it, because I teach it, the way I think of it is 2 or 3 nights a week, can you gift yourself you feeling incredible and then being the happiest person in all other aspects? Because I know when I'm like, oh, I have to take care of these kids and this husband and this house. And I know when I'm getting crabby and moody. And when I am, I'm like, you could give up the Netflix and chill, and you could give up that hour on social media that you're doing. Because there is usually this time in the evening that we're wasting. And whenever I feel myself wasting that time, I'm like, oh, I could go do self-care.
Okay.
And it feels so good that I will run upstairs, put a towel down and get started. So that's kind of my way to convince myself. And then I've also programmed myself to know that 9 to 10, because my bedtime is 10, 9 to 10 is self-care hour. So I'm not allowed to work. It'll ruin my sleep.
Right.
Usually I've wrapped up the house by then because I don't want to be cleaning at 9 usually. So I know I'm just wasting that time frame on social anyway. So I just try to switch it over every other night or every third night into self-care.
Right. I love that. I love that. Every woman should do that. Every person should do that. But we're really talking about women because we don't take care of ourselves enough at all. All. So what's up with the copper? Why are we using a copper tongue scraper?
Copper is antibacterial. So it's almost like self-cleaning. You can just keep rinsing it off. You can use a steel tongue scraper or any other metal, but we prefer a metal tongue scraper, and copper is just self-cleaning.
Okay. Well, that's easy enough. Okay. So there's basic rituals, daily rituals that you can do. And then when we're looking at inflammation, what really fascinated me about your knowledge is surrounding turmeric.
Yeah.
And did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay. You say turmeric, I say turmeric. But it's one of those spices that I've heard about, we've all heard about. for
Mhm.
years, decades, right? And you'll hear people say, well, just sprinkle a little turmeric on your chicken and that'll reduce inflammation. I was like, how's a little spice going to do that? Come on. We need the heavy hitters, the omegas, the CoQ10. We need anti-inflammatory different supplements, not this little spice. But you've kind of turned that whole concept on its head, and you've dove deep into all the benefits of turmeric. So let's talk about that, because I find it fascinating.
So yeah, when I was doing my master's in Ayurvedic sciences, I was sitting in a herbology class and they started going over all the spices from Ayurveda. We have coriander, which is cilantro, cumin seeds have so many benefits. Our fennel, our red chili powder, like every single spice has a ton of benefits. And when they got to turmeric, I realized, you know what? This one spice could have saved my whole family. Like the level of disease we dealt with, if we had just reduced inflammation far earlier in the game, we know that diabetes is caused by inflammation, our obesity. It's a lifestyle disease. And so I really was just shocked and was like, wow. So everything we use as superfoods to get superfood benefits, those benefits are in the super spices. So that's why I started thinking of super spices as the new superfood. Because what are you trying to get from those foods? You're trying to get an anti-inflammatory, antioxidant benefit. So my advisor was like, if you're that passionate about it, let's do a whole PhD on it. So I went on a multi-year journey studying turmeric, becoming so obsessed with it because turmeric is anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, antiviral, which I needed, antibacterial, antifungal. It's a very powerful anti-aging support because it impacts our sirtuins, our AMPK pathways, telomeres, like that whole world of anti-aging and longevity. Curcumin affects it. Curcumin improves nitric oxide in the body, increases blood flow. So when we talk about libido and a lot of hair, skin, and nails issues, it's going to increase the blood flow that we need to get to those extremities in different areas. Turmeric is anti-obesity, which is cool. So it's going to help us lose weight. We have science on that. It's very powerful for brain health. So improves cognitive function, reduces cognitive decline, has quite a role when it comes to Alzheimer's because it affects tau tangles and amyloid plaques. It affects mood, it affects memory, it affects neuroplasticity. So if you want to get smarter and have your brain work better. So I was like, it does everything. And then it's also well received by the body. So when we take an NSAID for pain, we're just trying to knock out pain. Versus every time I got hurt, they could have given me curcumin and then it would have just gone in there and healed the root cause of inflammation. So I basically became obsessed with it. And then my family was like, listen, if you are going to be crazy enough and tell everyone that curcumin does everything all day, you should just make your own. So from there, I went and researched how do you build a company. And I ended up building my whole supplement company. And my theory was, what if orthopedic medicine, every time we hurt ourselves, said instead of here's a drug, they said here's a natural solution as well. And so that's all I've done for about 10 years now is talk to orthopedics, rheumatology, primary care, and functional medicine, chiropractors, naturopaths. Now it's everybody. But just focusing on, look, when the patient's inflamed, you know you have to reduce the systemic inflammation, but we also know we can't take NSAIDs forever. We know that there's a cost. And so it's just been fascinating to keep pushing this agenda of using turmeric. And now my focus is to get more published science on it, to keep moving that legacy forward of curcumin being used in Western medicine.
So when we're talking about pain, I mean, there's this whole opioid epidemic as well. And we're seeing it even on Netflix with movies and series, painkillers, which was eye-opening for me to watch because I had no idea that it was that deeply rooted in money. And the goal was basically to get these people addicted to opioids.
Yeah.
Is turmeric strong enough to overcome pain that would normally be treated with Percocet, oxycodone, whatever?
Sure. So what's interesting is when I built the formulas 10 years ago, I just wanted to see like, can we cover chronic joint pain? That was what my goal was when you tell someone they have pain, can't we avoid the NSAID? And my orthopedic doctors actually combined my two main formulas together. And they were like, that completely works. That has a whole section of our patient base very happy. And then what was interesting was they kept asking me, how do we use this pre-op, post-op? And so I had to go back into the science because turmeric is a vasodilator and you cannot give it to the patients who are on blood thinners. You have to be careful. So I tell my surgeons, look, a week out, tell the patients to stop taking the curcumin a week pre and a week post-op. But doctors do what they want to, and it's based on their own comfort level. And what's interesting was they started using it significantly post-op for their patients' pain, because a lot of patients don't want to take opioids because they know they're addictive and they have addictive personalities, or they're constipating and they just don't want to get into using that as a solution. And so we started offering Fusionary as an adjunct solution post-op, and it's been really interesting because we've been able to cut opioid use significantly in orthopedics. The patients are happier, patients come off everything way faster. In Florida, we have to offer a non-opioid alternative to every patient anyways. It's mandatory. And so it's cool that we can now bring this in as an adjunct solution. Normally the ortho would say acupuncture and fish oil and these things. So I just kind of slid Fusionary into there and said, offer Fusionary. So I've seen profound results. Now, when people call me and say, I'm on 5 opioids for my back and can this work? I'm like, no, that's an elephant and a mouse. Yeah. There's no comparison. Right. Please don't order this. But if you want it because you want to address the root inflammation and you know it'll support you a bit and maybe you can come off a little bit on that dosage, yes, that's possible. So we have to be really reasonable in how we talk about it. But I did find that post-op, because you're going to cut off that pain med, we can get you off faster, or a lot of people just avoid it altogether, which I find fascinating.
That is fascinating.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned different formulas. I always think of turmeric as, that's turmeric. And we're going to definitely talk good and bad because I know there's a lot of bad out there. But what are the different formulas that are being used? The doctors combined your 2 formulas and hit a home run. So what are the different formulas?
So I made one formula called Turmeric Gold. And I made it because I assumed that in Western medicine, the doctor would want to see published science formula. So I just made like 500 milligrams curcumin, 4 milligrams black pepper extract. And my only innovation in there was I added turmeric back in. And then what's innovative about it is the sourcing of the main ingredient, the curcumin, that's doing the job. So I built like a very potent, clean, straightforward formula. And I assumed they would only use that one. But because I had my PhD and I knew what I was talking about, I offered them this second formula and they all were like, sure, yes, it's fine. But the second formula is called inflammation relief, and it has curcumin, boswellia, dry ginger, amla, which is a powerful anti-inflammatory. That one's built in a synergistic approach. It works like a symphony in the body to reduce inflammation, because Ayurveda has a very different way that we formulate. We have the main herb do the main job. Secondary herbs support the first herbs to do the main job. The third herbs are making sure everything goes where they need to go. Fourth herb is mitigating the negative effects of even putting such strong things into the body. It's like a very holistic approach into formulating what's going into the body. And then the last one's just making sure everything absorbs properly. The black pepper extract increases the absorption 2000%. So it was interesting because now when someone's inflamed, I say start with inflammation relief. If you need more support, you add on turmeric gold. If someone's like me and they just need an immune system that works, I take turmeric gold, like my insurance policy and defensive warrior system at all times. And then the combo is just so interesting. We call it pain solution bundle. So that's like, if you know you're inflamed and you really need help, you just take both.
Okay. All right. So we have to dive into, as you were talking, I'm literally picturing, Mrs. Smith at home listening to this, and she's going to run out to Walmart and buy some turmeric.
Yeah.
Turmeric. I'm going to keep
I actually always said it turmeric. And you know why I say it turmeric now? It's just so people know what I'm talking about. Because no one was listening to me for the first 8 years. So now I call it turmeric just so it lands, which
there you go. Just change the way you say something. But no, we're both supplement company owners. And I've said for decades now, you want to purchase your supplements from a company with that individual owner where our names are behind the quality. So you bet your ass the quality is high, because we're not going to put garbage into a capsule and sell it. It comes back on us, right?
Correct.
What have you seen out there in the world of Amazon and Walmart and Costco in terms of good and bad turmeric formulations?
I think there's like, if you type turmeric in Amazon, it comes up with 17,000 results. It's insane.
Yeah.
And so people for years send me their labels and send me their products. And I've seen big companies actually who make turmeric products and it's all turmeric. So the game in turmeric is interesting because people will put on the label curcuma longa. And because curcumin sounds like curcuma, people will be like, oh my God, I'm getting the turmeric. It's great. I'm getting the thing. And that's just the plant name. So they're putting 1,500 milligrams of regular turmeric powder in there. I buy turmeric powder at the grocery store by the pound, and it's very cheap. So why would we go through all that work to put it in a capsule and sell it to you when its impact isn't going to be significant? Out of the entire turmeric plant, only 3% is the curcuminoids. Out of those curcuminoids, the one curcumin is the most effective at reducing inflammation. So really they're cheating, and that drives me crazy.
Yeah.
I've seen big supplement companies not put black pepper. They're like, here's your curcumin, no turmeric, no black pepper. I'm like, what are you doing, guys? It's called Google. Come on. We know we need the black pepper or a healthy fat to absorb it. So I just think it's a huge game and it's a huge racket. And we know that years ago, I think it was the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times published a study. They went into big box retailers like your corner stores, and they pulled supplements off the shelves and tested them. And they showed that almost all of them didn't meet the active ingredients stated. And that to me just was devastating because I was like, you know what? When I buy vitamin D, I actually need it to do what it says.
Right.
I'm relying on it for my system. Otherwise, I have to be sick half of every month or every month. And then I don't get to live my actual life. I don't get to be productive. I don't get to build success. I'm just sick.
Yeah.
So that infuriated me. And when I built my supplement company, I was so obsessed with quality. When I went to the factory, I was like, it has to be US made. I have to be able to walk into this factory and watch production each time. I have to see the third party reports. I have to see that when you said that's my supplier and I know it's my supplier, that supplier's boxes are sitting here on the factory floor post-production because that is what I ordered and that's what we discussed.
Yep.
So I've been obsessed for the whole time about that. And recently I even switched factories and we got even better. I was like, wow, there's always better. It's so interesting. Now we're more tested. We have third-party testing pre, post, and during production. I met with the suppliers in India. So to me, it's like, you do want someone whose whole identity in life is tied to the product because they're always going to seek to make it better. You also want someone who's so obsessed with their health that they're going to keep making it better for themselves. Like I sit in India and I'm like, how do we go better? And they're like, no one asks us that. They ask us how to go cheaper. I'm like, no, I'm not trying to go cheaper. I will pay anything for the most miraculous ingredient. Like, let's go. Let's I want to buy farms and go from soup to nuts and build the whole thing and be vertically integrated. So I just feel like we waste so much time and money, and we could just buy the few things that work and do those few things. And so I always support the small founder. I go to my functional medicine doctors and I ask them which probiotic actually shifted the stool test, which vitamin D shifted the blood work. Give me those companies. I don't want to buy some big company that doesn't care.
Exactly. I'm so happy you said that. And just for everyone listening, this isn't a pitch. This isn't a sponsored episode. We're literally diving into the benefits of turmeric and Shivani's company, because you have to, as a consumer, you have to be aware of all this. Everything that she's talking about, you have to be aware of as a consumer, especially if you're out there in the world buying supplements, and God forbid you buy them at Costco or Walmart. So I'm so happy that you talked about that and dove into that. Now, where can people buy? Because now they're going to be all interested and want to add it to their protocol. So where can people buy your supplements?
So my website is shivanigupta.com. It's my name, SHIVANIGUPTA. And I'm at dr.shivanigupta on Instagram. So that's like a good place to find all this stuff that I talk about and teach. And then the supplement company is Fusionary Formulas, FUSIONARY formulas.com. And it's on social as well. And then I made a special code for your audience. Dr. Amy, DRAMIE, will give them 15% off at Fusionary.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, because I need to get some for myself too. You have me convinced. So you had mentioned a little bit earlier too about really streamlining people's supplement protocols. And I want to touch on that as well, because I'm a firm believer in that. I don't believe in having 30 different supplements on your shelf and being so supplement fatigued that you take none of them because you're just sick of looking at them. So really with turmeric, with your Fusionary formula, we can add that in and get rid of some of our supplements. Like let's take the glucosamine. I mean, you've studied it. What's better in the literature? Glucosamine for joints or turmeric for joints?
So glucosamine, chondroitin, MSM, shark cartilage, all of these fit a gap in the market of orthopedics for all those people who get told, oh, you are bone on bone. When you're really bad, we'll operate on you. And in between, just sorry, PT and figure it out and lose some weight is usually what orthopedic says to us. They've said it to me many times. Like, oh, just lose 20 pounds, you won't have knee pain. I'm like, okay, thanks. Thanks. But when it comes to all that supplementation that people were doing, what my orthopedic doctors told me was they weren't feeling any difference. People were looking again for new solutions. So when I built Fusionary, I was trying to plug myself in right there, called none of those things have worked. They've been proven not to work and not to be effective. You can't take shark cartilage and think it's going to give you cartilage. So what we do know is curcumin, because it's been used for thousands and thousands of years, we know how powerful it is. Now we have tens of thousands of studies on it, and we have so many double-blind placebo-controlled trials. And we have all the science that shows NSAIDs versus curcumin. Curcumin's as effective, but without the side effects. And that's just published science. So to me, it's really exciting because now we can walk into all these different types of doctors and say, hey, just offer it as an adjunct solution. You'll see your patients will come back to you. And the patient's asking the doctors for natural solutions now. So there's this moment now where finally doctors are open post-pandemic and the patient really wants that alternative. So
that's so good. I mean, you were just opening the minds of physicians and consumers alike, which I absolutely love. Last question. Can I give this to my dog who also has some joint issues? I'm going to assume yes, but it's funny. I was just about to buy him a joint supplement and I thought the same thing. I'm like, you know, these don't even work on humans. Why am I buying it for my dog?
Sure. No, it's a great question. So a lot of people have actually taken my supplement and opened it and given it to their pets. And I Googled it to check. Turmeric is safe for dogs in small doses, and it may have a positive impact. So I've met people who buy Fusionary for their dogs and then they can't afford it for themselves, but their dog's arthritis matters more to them.
Yeah, that's about right.
I get it. It's your child. So I get it. I totally get it. It's another member of the family. So yes, it is safe for dogs. Watch your dosage. Maybe like we don't give curcumin to kids because we don't have science on it. But if your kid is adult size, I tell people that's up to you. Like my kid who's 13 is as big as I am. So I take a capsule, open it, and give half. So maybe for pets, that's a good place to start and see what that dose does for them.
I love it. Love it. Yeah. Thank you so much. You are just, you're doing great things in this world. I love you that you're out there. If you guys are on an orthopedic board at A4M, at all these conferences, you might see Shivani on stage talking about the benefits of curcumin. So, or turmeric. We're just going to keep rolling with that, girl. We're just going to keep going.
Yeah,
so thank
I did
you.
just speak at A4M Vegas. It was so cool. I've been speaking at orthopedic and neurology conferences. They're all presenting all their surgery to each other. And then I'm the girl who walks in who's like, just so you know, turmeric will help your patient. So it's a fun journey for sure. I'm enjoying it.
I would love to just be a fly on the wall looking at their faces as you teach them that, no, you don't have to prescribe a drug to control pain. So love it. Love it. I love what you're doing. Thank you so much for coming on. And we're going to put all the links and everything and the code into the show notes. So no worries. If you missed it, we'll put it down below. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.